Hello, everybody. Live from Colorado. This week we've had quite a roller coaster of weather. Um, lots of um, lots of snow actually, but that's really helpful for the wildfires out here. So kind of praying for more snow. But of course, you guys know I want nice weather through Thanksgiving because I'm going to go surfing. Um, Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about different techniques that you're going to see in batiks and how to recognize them when you're shopping in stores and what you're seeing. I talk about chops, I talk about color application, all of that kind of stuff. And I thought maybe I'd show it to you a little bit and talk through it on certain ones. Behind me today, we're in the middle of the studio, and to block out a whole bunch and a whole mess of stuff, we hang quilts. Don't you guys do that? I've got two quilts. One was in Quilter's World, and it's the triangle one right here, and it's got the plaid and it's got the luster in it and some katan. I'm going to talk a little bit about the plaid. And then on this side over here is the one that was in um, I think it was Quilt Maker and Stick Candy Twist. I love that quilt. It's way cool, but it's Ketan. Hey, Trisha, how are you? Thanks for joining me today. The chat is open, so if you guys have questions, we'll try and get to your questions. I had you give me some questions ahead of time this time, and I tried to show some photos of what I was going to talk about. So if you did have some questions, you could ask me. Hi, Carolyn. Thanks for joining me today. I kind of changed my environment here because I did want to show a couple quilts and I wanted to show some of the headers or the fabrics that I want to talk about and see what you thought and how you would use it in a quilt if you wanted to comment about that as well. Okay, so one of the comments that I had asked or had gotten was plaid. How do I go about making plaid? That's one of the things that I really, really like. I love plaids. I love stripes. I love zigzags. When I'm a quilter, that's what I like to use. So one of the ways we create a plaid is actually without wax. Batiks are made, as you know, with the chop. I have the chop here somewhere. This one. Um, the chop, right? Normally, you dip it in the wax. You put the wax down on the fabric. It holds the color for the motif, and then you put the background color. Okay. Hey, Paul. Good to see you. But with plaid, sometimes instead of doing that, what I do is I'll hand paint the color on there, kind of like you saw the brush strokes being applied in some video that we posted earlier today. It's hand painted. It's a hand painted stripe, right? And then I take it and I take a screen, and I don't know if you can see this. Okay, I take a screen and cut that hand done screen and apply a bleach. So it doesn't necessarily go all the way to white with the bleach. It just removes some of the color in it. You can see in this one right here. Okay. So you've got all the color in the background, and then you've got the plaid in there. And those are not butterflies. Those are not little butterflies. Those are like, think of ribbons on presents or something like that. Okay. So this was the first plaid that I did. It's called All About Plaid. And we did that with the hand painted stripe and then the bleach effect. And I like that bleach effect because I can get more detail in things, right? I'm not using the wax. The wax is wet and it sinks into the fabric. And it puddles or it pools a little bit. Whereas the bleach, yes, it goes through a screen, but it's applied in a finer fashion. Okay. So that's how I'm achieving some of the plaids. Of course, there's always going to be exceptions, right? Because you put a rule down, boom, we got an exception. So if I do layer the techniques, what if I did the chop and then I did the bleach on top as well? So I'm layering techniques or reverse, then I get more depth in it. And if you look at Patience Griffin's line of fabric, kilts and quilts, she's got some plaids in there, and that's what we did. We did a lot of layering of techniques, not just one technique. So you can kind of look at that. Okay. Hi, Heidi. Thanks for joining us. All right, so I refer to plaids and zigzags and stripes. I'm extremely fond of all of those. Let's see, I've got some right here behind me. This one here is from the iPad Sketch Collection. Okay, and you can see the zigzag there. Now think about lining the chop up, okay, to achieve that zigzag, right? It's kind of difficult to do. So what's the first color that's applied on this? The first colors that are applied is a stripe or rainbow kind of stripe, right? Because that's the motif. So that's the first colors that are applied. And then the chop is applied, all right, with the wax to hold that color. And then it's bleached out and then the background's applied, all right? As far as the chop goes, when you go to line up a stripe or a zigzag, it's really, really complicated. So we have amazing, amazing talents in Indonesia that do this. If you look here, though, the negative space in here, right here, this allows them a little bit of flexibility. So every piece is going to be slightly different. It's handmade, just like every quilt, it's slightly different, okay? But by giving them that negative space in there, lining it up this way makes it a lot easier, okay, to line it up. But you can see the color or the rainbow kind of stripe is applied first, and then the background is a finishing of that one. Okay. All right. So remember I talked about brush strokes, and this is one of the essentials in Banyan's line, in Banyan Batiks, okay? And we did the stripe, and then we kind of did, if you look right here, kind of an X or almost like an argyle kind of thing to give a little bit of texture in there. You can kind of see it. I love this gray. I use this gray on everything. Okay. So you've got a little bit of texture. And that's one thing that plaids and zigzags and stripes do, is it gives you a lot of texture in your quilts, or movement, a lot of movement, right? And you can use them. Think of rail fence. You can use it in a directional kind of way and add movement around the quilt or the project. Okay. Now let's look at, how about a different kind of stripe? This one. It's called Cherry Blossoms. It's in the Cherry Blossoms collection. So how did I achieve this? Where is it? There it is. How did I achieve this stripe? Okay. What I did is I used 2 chops. So it's a double chop application. The first chop is a stripe. Okay. It's just, instead of doing a pattern or a floral kind of thing, I did it in straight lines, right? We put the copper in straight lines and did the stripe. And then the second chop application is a floral. So I've got a stripe within the floral, and then the background's applied after that. If you look here, right here, sneaking up behind there, is hand painted. So we've done the chop with the white, okay? That's holding the white there. And then we've hand painted in there as well. There's a couple different reds in there. I don't know if you can see it with the lighting. So that's even another technique, right? Okay, let's see. Let's talk about a zigzag, another zigzag. This one right here. So what did I do? When I drew it, I put the floral inside the zigzag, right? Okay, so the floral's inside the zigzag, that's applied first, and then the ground is applied after. Okay, this is, hello Diane and Christine, hello. Thanks for joining me today. You can see here in the African violets, this is another one that I showed the video of, and it's the hand painted technique as well. So the chops applied, they hand paint it, they hand wax over it to keep the color that's been hand painted right there, and then it's applied the background. Now, if you happen to see the Flower Power video that we have on Northcott's website, Northcott's Facebook, as well as Banyan Batiks, you'll see the hand painted technique, and we have just a little of this showing them doing the hand painting on that. It's a very delicate work, whereas the chop, which is kind of heavy, it's pretty heavy with the copper, okay, and the wax. The more delicate work, a lot of times we're employing females, whereas in the factories, a lot of the men are doing, if you think of the repetition of using that chop, it's usually the men who are doing the chop application. Okay, let's see. Here's another zigzag. See, you can tell I'm obsessed, right? I'm obsessed with zigzags. Okay, so this one right here is a double chop application. So the zigzag is one chop, and the little circles with the waves in it is another chop, right? Now look at this. Let's skip to something else while I have it here. Look at this one. How is that? Is that a typical batik right here, the red with the little bursts? Okay, it's not, is it? It's more of a flat ground or a dip dye. All right, so this one is more of a flat ground, okay, has less movement than something maybe like, let's see if I can show you a typical batik right there, where the ground is a little bit more mottled, or we use a technique called smoking, where we're scrunching the fabric and it helps get the color to travel. Dip dye, you're just throwing it, think of throwing it into a bucket and it just absorbs that color, right? Okay, so it's more of a flat ground. A lot of times when we're talking about the differences in batiks, when we're referring to batiks, we're referring to the smoked or the watercolor look as a batik. We don't necessarily think of the dip dye as a batik, but it is. It absolutely is. And then if you look here, I've done a couple different things with this. I've done a little bit of a bleach effect on it, and then I overprinted with it to give it just a little bit different look. So if you think about layering different techniques in your batiks, it kind of gives something different. How many colors of red do you think is in that particular one? Isn't that gorgeous? And that is a normal chop application. But what we've done is we've taken the colors in the motif, which is more of one or two reds, and then we've repeated those colors and added more darker reds in the background. So you kind of have an in and out look as far as seeing how clearly the motif is. It gives you a little bit of depth in color, right? Okay. Let's talk about borders. We love borders, right? In quilting, we like border prints. Normally, you don't see a border print in batiks as much. In cotton fabrics, we're used to seeing it all the time. The reason is it's kind of complicated to do if you think about it. You're using that chop, okay? And then when you get to the selvages, you need to use a different chop, all right? So you need some way to block it off, right? Because if you're using this chop and laying it down, dipping it in wax, laying it down, this doesn't necessarily equal the width of the fabric. So you have to lay something down to prevent the wax from going on that one section so you can use a different chop for the border. And that's what we did in my Chaotic collection. You can see it right here. Okay, it's very busy. That's what I was looking for. Down here is the border chop, right? Down here. And then I've got a cute little ditzy or a floral toss in here. And then I added on, instead of doing the stripe in the motif, remember on the zigzag, I did the stripe color in the motif. Instead of that, I did a mottled kind of or a smoked color in the motif. And then I did the hand-painted stripe effect in the background. It gives it a kind of a different look. So playing with techniques is really, really, really important and fun. It brings a depth to batiks to the from Indonesia to the quilting world, and I think that's so much fun. It's a handmade process, and celebrating that in our quilting is wonderful. It's a lot of fun to do. Okay, all right. I want to show you another one with the border. Back to cherry blossoms. See how I've got the border print here, okay? And then I've got a different print within. So my border is a little bit narrower. What could you use this for? It's not as wide. The other one, Kiana, is wider, right? You can use that in maybe a full-size quilt. Whereas this would be great in a sashing, right? And this could complement. So you're getting two fabrics in one right there. And there's that stripe again. There's that stripe in that motif. I love it, okay? Let's look at this one right here. Remember I talked about bleaching, okay? Let's see here. There. I talked about bleaching out. If I push it closer, you can kind of see. There's a lot of detail on this one. A lot of fine, fine lines. Instead of using the wax application with a chop, I took a screen, a hand-done screen, and I applied bleach to it, okay? I put the background on first, and then I apply bleach, which brings out the motif then. It doesn't bleach it to white, right? Okay. So it's a little bit backwards. It's not what we're normally used to doing when we're applying color and applications to batiks. But if we challenge that, if we try something a little bit different, our techniques in batiks are going to look a little bit different. Okay. All right. So what about, how about this one? I'm going to show you this pillow. Thanks, Barb, for quilting these. Okay, so this one, what I did is like kind of a checkerboard, right? Tile effect, and you can use it in a pillow. But you've got a couple of different things. This isn't piece. This is just one piece. So we've done how many different chops on here? There's 3 different chop applications. We've got the flowers here, and then we've got 2 smaller prints here. Okay, and look at the color. See how the color is in the motif? That's where it changes. Where the ground is kind of modeled or a watercolor look, but a darker color. Okay, so the variation of color is in the motif. All right, so this is from the Barala collection. And I love how this came out. I think it came out really, really interesting. So when you're looking at your batiks in stores, what are you responding to? What I like to do is I like to go and pet everything in the store and look at it and see what I respond to. Do you respond to variation of color in your motif? Or do you respond to variation of color in your background? Do you respond to things that are more tonal? Do you like the watercolor effect there? Or do you like something that's more dip-dyed, the way I showed you with the At the Pier collection? Okay, there's a lot of different things. Also, what about the way the color changes in the motif? Is it big balls of color of change, or can you get it in a 4-inch square? Okay, so a lot of things are going into the batik layering of techniques, but also layering of color and knowing how you can layer your color effectively. Okay. Here's another one. This one from Modern Geometry, and I showed this technique here in a video prior to this. It's called Treads. We've had it in our Ride-On collection. We've had it separate as a Color Me Banyan. Now, a Color Me Banyan is basically if I find a technique that I really, really like and it's really cool and I love the colorations, we'll just put it in its own group and just run all the colors because we think it's cool and special and different. Okay, but this is one of those. This is called Treads, and it has a diagonal appeal, doesn't it? It's kind of neat. It has a 3D effect, and that's just by applying color more in a dip dye way or a painterly way. Okay, and then we're going over it with kind of like a brush. It's cut in squeegee, cut in like little fingers. Okay, and going across it. So I have a diagonal effect with that one. This one's way cool. I love how this one came out. Okay, let's look here. This is a double chop application here. Okay, this one I've done 2 chops, and you can see a very the floral thing, and then I kind of have painterly effect with it. Kind of a texture that I've added. All right, and this one, this is more of a tonal. It's a contrast, isn't it? You've got your bluish green in there, and then you've got a background. So it's not a lot of variation in color. It's not all about the multi, right? It's more about the 2-tone. All right, so it's choosing colors that kind of are interesting together, but you don't lose the design necessarily. It's kind of a high contrast, not too much though. And then this is a little bit more high contrast. Okay, but it's 2-tone. So what do you respond to? What do you like to use your batiks for? Okay, another question we had was, what's the most complicated technique? I think something like that. Okay, and I'm going to say it's luster. Okay, now luster is featured in this quilt along with the plaid. All right, it's one of Banyan Batik's essentials. Essential to me means it's essential to have every color because I'm a quilter, and that's how I think. Okay, so luster, if you saw the video, we were doing one of the processes in this, and this is a sneak peek because these luster colors stores are seeing right now. Okay, so they're not even in stores yet. All right, let me see here. Okay. So on here, what I've done, if you look here, this time it's 2-tone, right? I've got 2 tones in there. right? There's about 5 different processes to create this luster. We have a little bit of metallic, just a hint of it. We have the blue dots. We have an overprint. We have a bleach effect. See where the taupey khaki is? And then we have the background. So it's all how you layer it, okay? Another one, this is more tonal, right? Okay, with the high contrast of the black overprint. So it's challenging our perception of batiks. It's challenging what we consider batiks. Do you mix your batiks with your cotton? Do you mix your batiks with your wool? Trisha does. I know Trisha does. I love what she's creating with wool layered on, or batiks layered on wool and then embellished. I think it's just gorgeous. Think of that. Think of those two worlds. It's marrying two very hand-dyed processes, right? More slow down the quilting and enjoy the process kind of thing. And but do you marry your batiks with regular cotton? Why not, right? You can, absolutely. Okay, let's look at a couple more colors of the luster. This one, instead of doing two-tone like I showed you, this one is more multi. Okay, so I've got multi applied first, multicolors. You see the green, you see the aqua. Okay, there's like 3 or 4 colors in there, and see how they're beautiful. The variation of color, and that's achieved actually by bleach. Okay, so we bleached out just enough to make sure we left some of the color on there. And then a stronger version of the multi is here. And see how it's bigger balls of color, bigger changes of color. Okay, so this works wonderfully for borders, right? It works wonderfully for big block quilts. Another thing with luster, you'll notice the repeat of the pattern is not within a chop. It's not within that size, is it? Okay, so we've achieved something that's quite different. We've made sure that the repeat of the pattern is a lot bigger. All right, so that's more, to me, more fun to try and work with and see what I can create with that. Okay, and then it mimics, to me, the repeat of that mimics the change in color that's going on within this with the big balls of color. Okay, do we have any questions for me? I think I've gone through like whole bunches of different batiks that I just love. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the techniques because we're constantly introducing them. If you look on the Banyan Batiks website, we're trying to put up a resource section so you can see the kinds of different things that we're achieving and they're being made in Indonesia. Now, I work with a few different factories, and one thing I like about that is they bring to the table so much experience, so much experience. They're independent businesses, they're small businesses, just like the quilt shops that you all are supporting here in North America. And so I'm very, very fond of them, and I just like working with them. I do miss them terribly because I do go to Indonesia a few times a year, and I'm grounded right now. So, oh my gosh, going crazy. But anyone who makes a comment, please make a comment if you can. We will do a drawing, and I'll send you out a little bundle of Banyan Batiks, okay? And I appreciate you joining me today. Do we have any comments other than love these designs? Thank you. I'm having lots of fun designing these, and look forward to you guys seeing them when they arrive in stores. We have some of the collections, like I said, luster, the new colors are coming to stores probably next year, but the current collection is in the stores right now. So make sure you head out to your shop and ask them. Just say, what do you have? What kind of techniques and batiks do you have? Do you have some Banyan batiks? All right. What happens to the chops? Oh, great question. Okay. When the chop is retired, okay, basically we have a chop made for a collection, okay, and I only use it within that collection. I don't usually repeat it unless it is, I may repeat it in the next release or something like that. But I don't usually repeat it unless it's like a bestseller or something like that. But the factories that I work with can use it for the domestic market. Okay, so they can take my designs and use it for the domestic market. In fact, I had one of the factory owners tell me that he used one of my chop designs for shirts. And you have to remember, they use in hospitality and a lot of the factories, they wear uniforms. So they wear a different batik shirt every single day. And it's just vibrant color. But anyway, after it's retired, they do hold it for a period of time, and then they can reuse the copper that is in there. But it is exclusive to me when I design a top, and yes, I do give permission to use it within the domestic market. Anything else? Any other questions for me today? Okay, so that's all I was going to cover today. I just wanted to talk about some of the techniques. Please reach out if you think of questions or something like that. Reach out and let me know. Thank you.